Hello, good afternoon. What a fantastic room. It's only Monday. Incredible number of people. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through where fintech's got to, where corporate investment in blockchain and Bitcoin has got to, and then a voyage of discovery on where ICOs have got to and where they may go to. So the very first thing is a legal disclaimer. Nothing I say is any form of investment advice. Definitely not any investment advice. So fintech trends, corporate and VC investment in Bitcoin and blockchain, and then ICOs, coins and tokens. This is where I think fintech's got to in 2017. An ecosystem approximately of 30 billion, and it's been probably in that region for the last 3 years. Where has the money been spent? Half of it has been spent in the United States. They're the major fintech investors. China, the second fintech investors. UK, Europe are about the same size. And then you have India, Canada, Australia, Southeast Asia, Israel, Africa. What has the investment been spent on? A third of it has gone into loans, either direct lending or peer-to-peer. A quarter of it into payments. Then you have process, insurance, cyber, capital markets, asset management, and all of the other sectors. And what is gradually happening is that the investment in loans and payments might be starting to get smaller and become more focused on the other market segments. So fintech investment, but trend by region. The United States ecosystem is probably worth about 10 billion. Had a very good year in 15. China is probably about the same. Identifiable investment was about 7 billion in 2017, but the Chinese did about $3 billion worth of IPOs, predominantly on North American exchanges. So China and the United States are probably about the same size. Then you have Europe, which has had an absolutely stellar year in 2017. The UK has also had a stellar year, come back from the death of Brexit. And then you have India and the rest of the world really starting to motor in terms of traditional VC corporate investment into fintech. So what are the trends by major investment segment? Payments, 7 billion. Loans is starting to come off together with peer-to-peer. Process investment starting to motor, 2.6 versus 1.7. Insurance had a good year in 2015, but that seems to have tapered off a bit. If you want to build a bank, investment is up. This is the UK as we're in London. So 2016, it was not a good year, the impact of Brexit. But guess what? 2017, back up to about 3 billion, 2.9 billion, and that's an illustration of some of the investments that have been made. And I think what's happened is that initially Brexit was a great shock to the funding environment. But speaking with various startup founders, they say, well, if we go to the States, effectively that's 50 different countries we've got to get registered in each state. Europe, UK, it's only 2. And surprise, surprise, our holding company is already set up in Ireland. So it's no problem. Fintech people are smart. You give them regulatory barriers, they get round them. and comply. The disintermediation forces are still all there, but there's a new big one: the cost and delivery, the data stack, the channel decomposition, the human capital, the internet giants. But I think in the background there's blockchain and ICO has the potential to be one of the most fundamental disintermediation impacts to financial services which has ever been seen. The internet giants want to convert social conversation into a financial conversation and monetize it. They're coming up with all of these objects to try and do this: Google Assistant, Alexa, Google Home, Messenger. But I just want to just focus in on the ecosystems which some of the internet giants have. If you look at Amazon, massive ecosystem, going all the way from Amazon Pay through to Amazon Prime, touching consumers continuously. Ant Financial, part of Alibaba or closely related to Alibaba, has an even bigger ecosystem. 520 million actives on the Alipay, 392 million in their insurance outfit, a scale which is inconceivable in the West. What have Alipay been doing? They've been building a global ecosystem, and that's one of the best implementations of strategy I've seen, full stop. Probably about 50 things they've done to build their ecosystem. They are a power. They've had one setback: MoneyGram acquisition in the United States. So it occurs to me that if you're going to compete in financial services, you've got to have a very, very large ecosystem. And that ecosystem may be outside the financial services industry. 2018, this is going to be the year of the Digital Challenger Bank. All of these people have been funded. The most brilliant turnaround, I think, has been in Tandem, where initially they lost their finance, but then they turned around and they bought Harrods Bank, as you do. You know, such a tremendous piece of entrepreneurship that now. And that deal to transfer the license to Tandem, I think, closed last week. So it's up to these people now to put up. Revolut has about 1 million. Monzo has about 500,000. Starling and Atom are very, very strong, probably more traditional management teams. But let's see what they do in 2018. Capital One, I just flashed that up, that maybe there's a financial institution in the world which has got it, that their customers are developers. Open banking. I think 2018 is going to be the year of open banking. Let's see how that develops. That is a very, very powerful disintermediation force. And these are the Chinese tech IPOs, fintech IPOs, tremendous entrepreneurship, where they've taken Chinese fintech business models and floated them on Western exchanges. Something which the traditionally VC-backed fintechs seem reluctant to do. I don't know why. Payments has been an acquisition frenzy in it, at least $50 billion worth of deals in the last 2 years. So what do these metrics indicate? That there's a running investment rate of about 30 million. Loans and payments, they're still the largest area, but they might be coming off. The UK and US, the first fintech ecosystems, they're maturing and they're probably at the end of their first investment cycle. The UK came back from the dead in 2017 in terms of investment. And China's scale dwarfs the West, and India could just be the same. So let's look at traditional VC or corporate investment in blockchain and Bitcoin. But the first thing I want to concentrate on is humans, the human chain. And this is the power of blockchain and Bitcoin. It's not in the technology, it's in the humans doing it. And there is a global network of at least 300,000 people, right? A global corporation working on this, informal, outside traditional networks, creative, people generating ideas who shouldn't be generating ideas. So how has the blockchain Bitcoin investment evolved? 2014, it was all Bitcoin and not a lot of blockchain. 2017, it's all blockchain and not so much of Bitcoin. Where have Bitcoin investments gone to? Basically, payments and exchange, hardware and some investor groups. Where has blockchain investment gone? And I think this is a key differential into infrastructure, payments, capital markets, and digital assets. This just gives you a feel for the structure of the investment. Although the very top one there is a plus $200 million investment, that's not a large investment ticket in the global perspective of the very, very large investments that have been made in fintech. And the average is between 4 and 6 million. So you don't need a lot of money, even under a traditional funding structure, to do Bitcoin or blockchain. These are some of the large consortiums, and some people may say, yeah, the existing software supply base and the existing entrenched vested interests are trying to capture blockchain and Bitcoin and the advantages of the decentralized network. I say they're trying. There seems to be a lot of churn in the membership of this and conflict and indecision. And my view is I don't think it's anything to do with software, but I think traditional organizations find it very, very difficult to collaborate on new technology. So the ecosystems have been worth about $2.6 billion. It's a low investment average. Payments exchanges are about 50%. And the way these consortium run by traditional companies evolve, I think, is very much open. So let's on to look at ICOs, coins, tokens, investment trends. So when you talk about ICOs, Bitcoin, the word tulip appears. And you get that graph thrown into you. And if the word tulip doesn't appear, the word South Sea and bubble appear. You see another graph there. And if the word South Sea doesn't appear, the words .com boom appear. And in all initial innovative movements, paradigm movements, there is this froth. This isn't perfectly normal. And I said, yeah, well, my initial view before I started to really research ICOs, this is probably going to be another one of these. However, about 2 years ago, I found Shares in Space. This was a artistic projection where you looked up at the roof and you saw the world's shares being traded in quasi 3D. I then realized the world of columns and rows was ended for me because you saw a massive global network and data, information, shares, exchange of value flowing through this massive network. And then I've now found blockchain in space. And this is a representation, if you look at the video of this, all of this is moving parts. Somebody's taken ledgers, and you can see how they evolve. Moving, dynamic, 3D, interrelationships, which you would never thought existed, but when you actually see them in a 3D environment, you see something completely different. This is more example of it, and more examples of it. Network-centric, I think, is the word I'm looking for. And then I found Bitcoin in space. And this is being done by the Imperial College Data Science Group and Dan McGinnon, his PhD work. You can find it on YouTube. You can see Bitcoin in space in real time. And you get these beautiful patterns. And the large blob is a denial of service attack. And it's absolutely fascinating how biology, mathematics, and Bitcoin seem to be intersecting. And there's a really good paper highlighted there, visualizing dynamic Bitcoin transaction patterns, which is worth a read if you're a tech person. Looking at all of that, I think it's not only a technology, but this stuff is a new economy, a network-centric economy. Cryptocurrencies eliminate friction. Tokens. What is a token? It's an offer to participate in an entity's economy. This is new. Share unutilized assets, exchange things that you would never exchange, i.e. green energy for data storage. And I can't emphasize enough, in my view, that the network impact of this. Social media networks are well understood, they're mapped, they're analyzed. Now, that same power of the social media network is being applied to an economic network. And I think users could actually understand the risks, which is an anathema to regulators. So I formed this theory, and I looked for confirmation bias and Bitcoin at Swiss railway stations. Blockchain proving transparency of your turkey for Thanksgiving. And yeah, this has got to be real because the Chicago Mercantile Exchange are trading Bitcoin futures. Yeah, I thought this is real. However, I'm now seeing something else which absolutely astounded me. And it's this. Kodak doing Bitcoin. It's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. It's like Watford winning the Champions League Cup or England winning the World Cup. It's Rumble in the Jungle 4.0. Amazing. Initially, I discounted it, but then I looked at who they were working with, Venn and T0. This may work. So I now conclude, has a Rubicon been crossed? Hail Caesar. In corporate America, the only Rubicon there is the share price of a corporation. And on the 8th of January, if I believe Bloomberg, right, Kodak's price was $3. On Friday night, it's $10. That is an earthquake shock. A lot of people in this room are going to start to get phone calls from people they have never talked to, because I think Kodak might have opened the door to corporate adoption of blockchain and Bitcoin. So how have ICOs gone? Right? First half of last year, very quiet. The second half of last year, very noisy. In total, over 13 months, $5 billion worth of raise, 264 projects. Where has the money gone? Infrastructure, finance-type business models, payment, smart contracts, and the other ones. But I'd just like to emphasize infrastructure. In progress, this is not going to stop, right? I've found 226 compared to last year's 264. There's a massive in progress ICO occurring. So issued tokens, just to consider issued tokens, the market capitalization, and I know there are many different interpretations of market capitalization, but what I'd just like to say, the numbers are large, and the two areas are infrastructure and finance. And the total value of all of the tokens, according to some of the major exchanges, is about 70 billion. Whether they're worth that, you can question that. However, this is starting to get scale. And coins, 900 coins, there's more than one coin out there, value of 530 billion, and it goes all the way from Bitcoin through a whole multiplicity of coins, all doing different things. Again, if you look at the headline numbers, they are large, right? Which indicates that the people behind these now have a large amount of economic assets behind them. Just back to the point about coins. The top line is Bitcoin as a percentage of all coins, and it's now at about 40%. The only point I want to make is that there's more than one coin, and maybe the values of coins are changing, and maybe there are alternatives to Bitcoin. So ICO tokens and coins, in summary. The gross funding for ICOs is about $5 billion. But when you actually research the external money raised, this may be in the region of $1 to $2 billion. However, that's the same size as corporate investment that has been made in Bitcoin and blockchain. I think we're probably going to end up with about at least 500 projects, and maybe even 1,000 projects in 2018. And the projects have been focused on infrastructure and finance. And just a word about tokens, gross value, tokens and coins, their gross value of 600 billion versus the total traditional investment into fintech of about 121 billion. This has scale. There are signs of coins segmenting beyond Bitcoin. And is Kodak a moment for corporates? There still are governance, fraud, and security issues. Some regulators want to ban this, and I think it's because they don't understand it, that this is a new economy. So please explain it to them. Let them see through the all of the initial knee-jerk reaction. I don't understand this, we've got to close it down. I would say this is probably the beginnings of a new form of economy. It's an emergent phase. This is going to change. And you are going to make that change. And some projects now have substantial amounts of money in fiat. This enables them to be able to afford lawyers to push back any regulatory challenge, and this enables them to afford marketing to bring forward the adoption of these systems. And it's the development of the ecosystem, the community, and the network, not only the technology. And that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you found that useful.